So, do I even need to say what this video is about when you probably read the title and saw the thumbnail? No. Yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it. And I'm gonna make this kind of a little different. So there's gonna be some groupings. This isn't in any particular order. The first grouping I'm gonna do is, one of them is cartoons basically that had come out. One technically had actually come out in December of 2022, which was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But I saw it in January, so I'm going to include it into this. So that's one of them. Plus the Super Mario Brothers movie and Nimona. Also, I'm not going to get into too much spoilers for these movies in case anybody wants to see them and go spoiler free. I'm going to try really hard. If I do, I'll try to warn you about it. A lot of people have always said they had fun watching these films and enjoyed them quite a bit. But what I noticed with like each of them was, for instance, like Puss in Boots, that one dealt with like panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and like dealing with death as a whole, plus also like family things in there as well. Petito, I think that's how you say the dog's name. If I didn't pronounce that correctly, sorry. I'm very limited on my Spanish. He was very adorable and cute and had a whole lot of optimism throughout the film, which helps quite a bit. I loved his whole, like, sometimes it was deadpan humor without him meaning to be. I just thought it was funny. The Super Mario Brothers movie had more of like that, of course, Mario and Luigi being brothers and having that connection, but also Mario feeling like he wants to run his own business, but his dad thinks that's stupid. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who can relate to that. And also, Jack Black as Bowser, holy shit, that was so funny. Chris Pratt surprisingly did a really good job as Mario. Also, Peaches, oh man, that song is so funny. Shout out to Jack Black for keeping that Bowser voice as he sang, because man, that was so good. And then also Nimona, that one's just a film. One, it's based on a comic book, which I had no idea until I looked this up. And this was and there's people who made videos about the production of this, and you can go watch those. I just loved them. And also the animation for Nimona, it's got this like kind of, it's 3D, but it has like a 2D style look to it. I am kind of getting a little sick of 3D animation. I do want to go back to the 2D, so hope that we get more of those. We'll see. So Puss in Boots: Last Wish, I would definitely give that like 9.5 out of 10. Mario Brothers, I give it a 9. And Nimona, I would also give it like a 9. So continuing with like a theme of grouping, the next two are also cartoons. These ones are a little bit more adult. These are definitely not for children. I really recommend not having anybody under the age of maybe 16 watch these, even though I'm pretty sure at the age of 14 I would have watched these, but whatever. Vox Machina, which came out also in January, and Blue Eye Samurai, which came out in November. I'll have the dates. One, Vox Machina, I mean, Critical Role, if you watched their campaign, it's funny, it's fun, it's a bunch of nerdy voice actors, as they always say. It's a bunch of nerdy voice actors playing D&D and doing voices and characters. That's how they always describe it, and it's so funny. And true. And the show does reflect their campaign, so with a couple changes here and there, I recommend watching both the show and the campaign. And for Blue Eye Samurai, I had heard nothing about that, like at all. Just one day, it just popped up on YouTube randomly as a recommendation of like, oh, hey, here's this trailer for this show on Netflix. And I kind of was like, what the hell is this? And watching the trailer, I got almost nothing from that. I don't know how to explain it without trying to spoil anything, because that one is a little bit newer. I mean, it's a couple months old, and all the episodes are out, because Netflix does that, where they're just like, here, binge it. So it takes place in Edo, Japan, and you have a main character who is half white, half Japanese. she wants to get revenge on a man who essentially, let's just say it was unconsensual in how she was made. Yeah, we all know what the word is. I just can't say it because of YouTube reasons. But she basically trains as a samurai so that when she's older, she can go hunting for, and there's 4 guys who would enter Japan. And this was at a time when foreigners were not really allowed into the country. If they did and have offspring, like Mizu, those children were kind of considered like demons or monsters. That's about as much of a summary as I'm gonna give that without trying to spoil it, because you really do need to go watch this. Also, I wanna mention the animation definitely has, like, if you've ever seen Japanese art, that is basically what they went for when doing this animation, and it is beautiful. Also, the animation of the fights are also just chef's kiss beautiful as well. Oh my god, I really do recommend people watch this that are above the age of maybe 16. Make sure you have a parents lock on that show, because yeah. So for Legends of Vox Machina Season 2, I definitely give that 8.5 or 9 out of 10. I'm not sure. There was aspects of some of the episodes I did think were a little boring, so I think it's probably more 8.5. Now for Blue Eye Samurai, that is definitely 9.5. These next 3 things I'm not gonna group together because they are kind of like their own thing. So what I'm gonna start off with, for instance, season 6 of The Crown. Oh my god, that was actually a really good season, because I looked this up. The Crown's final season actually started production just a couple months before the Queen passed away. So that was kind of interesting to discover. The actors all do a fantastic job with their characters, and the writers try their damnedest to be as close to what happened in history as they can. There are, of course, you know, in typical media fashion, not everything is going to be exact. That's to be expected. Okay, I need to say this. For the makeup artist, y'all deserve a raise on that set, because damn, did you try your damnedest to make sure all those actors looked like who they were portraying, because wow. So for season 6, I definitely liked it better than season 5. I would definitely probably give that like 9.5. Also, shout out to Hans Zimmerman. That literal man is like composing almost everything these days, and he's a fantastic composer, so shout out to him. The next one, second to last, I should say, of my favorites of this year has to be Godzilla -1. I have no words for that other than I just love Godzilla films. I don't know how many Godzilla films I've seen. I've kind of lost track. Godzilla -1, again, similar to like Nimona and Blue Eye, like if you want in-depth stuff and you don't care about spoilers, like there are people who've made videos that can go into better discussions explaining Godzilla -1. Godzilla himself, I loved the animation with his spikes, that they glow blue, but they also come out, and then it's like they push in and lock in to release his atomic breath. I don't care what anybody says, that's awesome. Also, what I kind of found interesting was, so this movie came out in November in Japan, and then it came out in December in North America. If you love Godzilla films, this is a film you really should see. I mean, come on. Also, typically with Godzilla films, like most of the time, like you don't care about the human storyline. This is actually one of those where it works really well. I don't really want to go into too much with that because you need to see it for yourself. So what I would give Godzilla -1 is 9.5. For the final film, and this is a film, this was definitely taking things by storm with another film. And you will know what I mean when I freaking say it. It's Oppenheimer. I saw Oppenheimer with my parents, and Christopher Nolan is a really good director. I'm gonna say that. Like, the dude's a really good director. He definitely did a great job with this. Also, that was a stacked cast in that film, and everybody was great in it. Also, at the time of filming this is after the Golden Globes, so therefore Oppenheimer had won like Best Drama Movie, I think it was. There was also a bunch of other awards that they won, but Christopher Nolan uses very little CGI, like very little CGI in there. I think he said like there was like maybe like one scene he had to do it with, but he mostly prefers the practical effects, which it sells the film doing that, because then you can get your actors to actually react to things instead of just looking at a blue screen or a green screen. You have to describe to them what they're looking at. Other than that, I mean, it was just such a good film. Me and my parents, we loved it. It was fantastic. Oh my God. I really recommend. Yeah, that's like a high, like 9.8, 10 out of 10. Because it's well done. Like, Christopher Nolan did his like research on that. Because after we saw the film, my mom looked up a lot of the stuff to see like what was factual and what wasn't. So much of it actually was factual. Now, for something slightly different, because not only did I see films that came out that year, these are films that I rewatched. I rewatched Gladiator. I forgot how good that film was. I rewatched Shin Godzilla. So these last, they're in a grouping because it's a trilogy. It's Lord of the Rings. I watch them every year, throughout the year, so I've seen that so many times. But what made 2023 special was it was the 20th anniversary for Return of the King. Lord of the Rings is what got me through middle school and also had me realize my actual love for fantasy more. I mean, I had always loved fantasy as far back as I can remember, like probably when I was like super young. But yeah, Lord of the Rings is very, very special to me for a multitude of reasons. That's it. That's all the movies and shows I've watched, along with like rewatches. I have some anticipations for some series and movies, one of which is of course Dune Part 2. I cannot wait for that because it had been pushed. And also a small little mention as well that I am watching the Apothecary Diaries, but the reason I didn't really talk about that is like that's still technically ongoing. That is it for this video. I will see you all in the next one.